Well, good evening everybody and welcome to round 14 action of the F1 2020 Go Workplace Training Pacific Series here at Race Spec. I'm Wildhold and I'll be your commentator for the evening around the parade of the Formula One calendar. Some call it the Jewel in the F1 crown. I wouldn't. But yeah, here for Monaco action. I mean, it does have a special place in Formula One history. I just think the size and speed of the cars now make it really unviable to race around. But it's always a fun challenge. Come to Monaco, if you can get through it unscathed, you feel pretty good about yourself. However, getting through unscathed is easier said than done. So yeah, the place people will see many front wing changes. Possibly not many overtakes, but always a fun challenge for the drivers. You might jump board here with Master, who's our first driver out on a hot lap, I think. The soft tyres up through Saint Devote, fastest section on the track. Tricky double apex left, followed by an immediate right. Really don't want to hit that inside wall. You compromise your run over the bump, enter sector 1 into the slowest section on the F1 calendar. Even on full lock, it's tricky to get around this little hairpin here. The lowest hairpin back down the hill. Two right-handers here. Important traction zone here to get onto the sort of back straight through the iconic tunnel. And one of the most important braking zones on the track. Heavy braking zone. I think it is the heaviest braking zone on the track. Try and get as close to the wall. You can run a bit of that right-hand curve down the Nouvelle chicane, get a good exit. And then when you hit this as fast as you can without scraping the outside wall. Soon for chicane. This is probably my favourite section of the track. Into the next last chicane. Left into Rascasse, possibly an overtaking zone if you get a really good run into the final corner. Really narrow through there, really to get the line right and onto the main straight. And that's a lap of Monaco. And yes, that is a pit exit that goes pretty much out into the racing line, so that could cause some dramas a little bit later. The guys are trying to cut the pit straight down as much as you can to minimise the distance that you have to cover. It is one of the shortest tracks. I think, no, it is the shortest track in terms of length in the F1 calendar. One of the shortest in terms of time. So it is the longest race in terms of laps. It's a 39 lap race, I think, for us. 78 laps in real life for the 100% distance. So it is a bit of a marathon, considering how low speed it is and how tricky it is to really race anyone around here. So it's going to be a long stream. I think the one thing we can just really hope for that it doesn't rain in the race, because that will make it even longer. I think this and Singapore are the two longest kind of races in terms of time due to their low speed nature. I think Singapore's slightly longer, because the average speed's a little bit lower, but still going to be a long one, as Macedonian's knocked both his end plates off now and is in lap, so we'll see a lot of that happening around the place. Ned's back in the Ferrari. Ned Hot Blood Dog. He's filled in, I think he filled in at Japan last week, from memory. Pretty quick driver, just a matter of consistency, but probably going to be in the fight for the podium, if not a win. Be interesting to see how he gets along in his Ferrari. Probably be fighting up the front with the likes of F1 Hawk, SNUE, Scotty, the main sort of championship protagonists. In terms of the championship, I'm not exactly sure how it stands at the moment. I haven't checked the results since Japan, so I'll pull that up quickly now. F1 Hawk, I believe it's still 25 points to win. I know Race Spec did the points slightly differently, but if F1 Hawk finishes ahead of Scotty, or Scotty only finishes 1 or 2 places ahead of F1 Hawk, then F1 Hawk will be named the champion with 1 race to go. In terms of the constructors, Haas always have it wrapped up. They probably just need to finish ahead of McLaren this race to wrap that up. Same distance back from McLaren and Renault, so similar situation there. If McLaren can beat Renault, then they should be pretty safe for the constructors. For second place there, Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari are all separated by 3 points, though behind them 4, 5, 6, so plenty of positions to be gained for those guys. 3 in real life front running teams fighting for 4th place. So double representation from Ferrari and Red Bull, but only 1 Mercedes. That could be important for that race there for the constructors. So that's something to keep an eye on. But in terms of the drivers, F1 Hawk just needs to have a clean race, pretty much. He's got it in the bag. Scotty's fairly safe in P2. and Macedonian is fairly safe in P3. Had Banana, who's got a fair few guys right behind him. So the battle for P4 in the championship is the one to watch, I think. Banana in P4 down to Nui in P6. There's only 3 points. Edmund separating the two Renault drivers. So that's a battle to watch. But here on board with F1 Hawk on his first flying lap, we should see him shoot towards the front of the timing tables. He's been very quick and consistently quick, which is probably more important than just quick, throughout the season. Does pop it on provisional pole 9.4, which is actually a pretty solid bank lap. Probably see a lot of these guys hitting low 10s. Low to mid 10s will probably be about the average lap. Pole will probably be a low 9. I'm not sure how many people are going to beat that 9.4, in all honesty. So a good first lap there for F1 Hawk. This is one of the very few places where qualifying is probably as important, if not more, than the race, because it is so tricky to overtake. Pretty much if you're not starting on the front row or front 2 rows, then it's just going to be a massive slog to get back up towards the front, just because there's really nowhere for 2 cars to go side by side. And if you are an aggressive defender or a non-aggressive overtaker, it can be very, very difficult to make up any positions, or lose any positions for that matter. So that puts a lot of reliance on qualifying. You really, really need to hook together a good lap and give yourself the most clear air, so you can get that lap in and not have to worry about negotiating up the traffic. In terms of the turnout, we only got 13 drivers, so I guess that'll minimise the traffic issue a tiny bit, but it's still going to be mightily congested in that midfield there, and the last thing you want is to get a little bump from someone or bump someone yourself into the wall, because damage is going to hurt you. It'll just make you and everyone else behind you slower while everyone gets stuck. So yeah, really tricky to kind of find that balance between looking after the car and pushing, because you can see on board, as you've seen on board in the past, just how narrow the track is. There's such a fine margin for error, and to find the pace around Monaco you have to use all of the track. There's not much there to be used, but you have to use as much as you can. So right out wide on the entries, right next to that wall in the apex, and right out wide again on the exits. So you're always next to the walls. It's just a big long tunnel through the city. So yeah, really, really critical not just to be quick, but to be clean as well. I think the less front wing changes you do, I mean, that's a lot of time you can potentially get in a pit stop, because I mean 3/4 of these drivers will have to change their wings at some point in this race. I'd honestly be surprised if we had more than 3 guys finish without a front wing change, such as the perils of Monaco. Also considering how tight this field is, and how many guys in the midfield are willing to race each other hard, we are going to see a lot of front wing changes. And I mean, if you can save that 6, 7, 8 seconds lost in the pit stop for not having to change front wing, that's going to be absolutely massive. What's also going to be massive is an undercut in the race. If you don't get the greatest qualifying in, an early undercut could help you getting some clear air and getting some laps without traffic. There's pretty much no such thing as a slipstream around here, so it's not like a Monza or a Belgium or a Britain or a France, like a big kind of high speed track like that, where if you sit in behind someone you're pretty much guaranteed to go fast. Here you want to see as few cars as possible. You just want to see the track and not get distracted by other cars. So an undercut could really provide a good benefit for you, if you can make it work. And as we've seen in real life races as well around Monaco, even if you have old tyres, you can hang on, you can defend, just because there's so few places to really get the power down, or put the brakes on to make an overtake, so you can just kind of park your car in the middle of the track and get away with it. So an undercut definitely is going to be viable, but you'd probably rather avoid yourself the trouble and qualify the front couple of rows anyway. I'm holding it here with S Nui. He is 3/10 up, so this is going to be very close to F1 Hawk's time of a 9.4. It's going to be a 9.5, so only a 10th behind. Well, half a 10th, it's 600ths actually behind, so good lap there for S Nui. Scotty's sitting in P3. These three have been regular top 3s this season. I mean, I think with these sort of championships where the field is very close, there are a lot of drivers who can threaten for wins. Consistency is going to be incredibly important. The fact that F1 Hawk and Scotty, Esnui have always been consistently right up there. That's why they are well and truly ahead of the rest of the field in this championship. I know in Tier 3, Smeggy, I think he's only won one race this season, but he's fighting for the title just because he's consistently in the top 5. So that's the thing with these championships, you have to put in consistent efforts, you don't have to be outright fastest. I think Monaco kind of epitomises that. If you're going to be consistent and solid, this is a place where you really can shine while everyone tumbles around you. So yeah, that was a bit of a ramble. There's not really too much to talk about in qualifying, just seeing these guys pop their laps in. Joshy's back in the Racing Point. I know he's missed a significant chunk of races, partly due to net, also partly due to his own reasons. He was finding some really good pace towards the start of the season. I know the end of last season across the leagues, Joshy was starting to really pick up the pace, but some net dramas and some relative inconsistency. And getting himself involved in a couple of incidents with other people really didn't help. But his raw pace is quite good now, like compared to say 6 months ago. He would have been competing in a lower tier, but now well and truly can compete with these guys in Tier 2. So it's good to see the rise of Banana Josh on the F1 games. I know he's very quick on GT Sport. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to consistency again, just incredibly inconsistent. I think has not helped his cause in the championship. But currently sitting P5 around Monaco, which is a pretty good effort. So we'll see what he can do in terms of building from that, whether he can challenge that top 4. Some fairly close gaps, some also not so close gaps. The Rockstar would be get behind into the Stonetown Banana, who haven't done fantastic laps. It was Stonetown's best laps on medium, so he's looking like he's saving a set of softs, an extra set of softs for the race, which might come in handy with a late safety car or something like that. Reaper's also done his best lap on mediums, so considering that actually Reaper at 10.6 on mediums is a very good effort. They'd probably be about a second in soft tyres, maybe a tiny bit less if the track's so short. So I mean, if Grim Reaper can put a lap together on softs, he could be really challenging that top 3 around about that Scotty sort of time. So Grim's going to be one to watch if he can put together a lap. Stonetown on his first medium, on his first soft lap, sorry. I might ride on board here. Really important to get the line right. The line is just as important here, carrying the mid-corner speed. 10th up at the moment. I mean, it could be a bit more potentially, but this is probably where you're going to find the time, the slow stuff, where you can kind of get the power down. Second and third sectors, I think, is where the tyre life is going to really come in. You really be able to throw it late on the brakes and get the power down as soon as you can. So this is the important bit for Prezzo here. If you can get this mid-touch chicane and exit tidy approach. Not the most aggressive, but tidy I think is really good. Bit loose and power there, trying to get the foot down, so he knows how important it is to get this lap in. Again, tidy, which is good, and he's 5/10 up on his best time, so this is a better lap than Prezzo, but he's going to need to find even more time to gain some significant positions into Rascas. Bit of a lock-up, really, really easy to lock up if you don't run ABS, which I know Stonetown doesn't, hence the smoke. But a pretty tidy lap from the Stonetown. It's going to pop into P7 for 10.5, so he'll be pretty happy with that, I think. A second up on his previous best, so I'm not sure if he's going to have time to come back in and go back out again. You might be cutting it pretty close, but P7 is not too bad, although yeah, being in the midfield is not going to be easy. But you'd probably rather be in the midfield than be last, because I mean, it's easy to kind of say you'll sit back and avoid the carnage and everything, but there's a lot of carnage in front of you. If that's the approach you're going to take, there's a lot to avoid, so I think you'd rather just get yourself up a little bit. Also, I don't think tyre strategy is really going to be a factor because there'll be that many pit stops. I'd be really surprised if you don't get a safety car or 2 in the race. So tyre strategy is not going to be big, so the alternate strat, I know, which is quite OP at some tracks, especially when the softs are ineffective as a race tyre at a track like, say, Spain, where the softs are pretty much useless. Starting on the medium tyres isn't going to be that much of a benefit here. It probably makes it even more critical that you don't get any damage at all. So I think it's not the biggest thing to be outside the 10 and put mediums on. You'd rather just get a bit of track position. Track position, track position, track position is everything. around Monaco. Always has been, always will be. Unless they start driving go-karts around here and can actually race side by side, which they're not, obviously. But 2 minutes left in qualifying, so guys will be coming out of the pits for the final run. Stonetail looks like he's going again, so he's going to earn a little bit more of his tyres to get a good lap in. If he's not up here though, he might abandon it. He is up 2 tenths, so he knew he had time to find there. He's found it there, which is good, so if we can hang on to this time, 2 tenths will put him pretty close to that battle for P6. If we can find another tenth or two, possibly just pushing the top 5, which would be a good result for Prezzo. He'll be happy with that, I'm sure, if he can get into that top 5. But yeah, not really enough time to come back and put fresh tyres on, so he'll have a lot of fresh tyres for the race. Whether he'll be able to use them is going to be the question though. That looks a bit more aggressive just on the onboard there, so I wonder if there's a bit more time found there for the Stone Tower. Pretty wide there, he's 4.5 tenths up, so this is a great lap here for the Stone Tower. This is going to put him right up towards that P4 sort of margin around where Ned and Macedonian is sitting. Ned's retired in the pit lane, he's done for the session, so the Stone Tower, can he push for that P4? Not a bad last sector there, takes the shortest route to the line. Oh, and he's lost about a second, he's lost about, what, 2 tenths in that last sector. It's going to be P6 only, so it could have been P4. He might be a bit unhappy about that. P6 is still not a bad lap, not a bad position to be in, so could be a lot worse. Might jump on Scotty here though. No, he's on an out lap. Reaper might be on a lap. We mentioned his best lap is on, no, he's already done a soft lap now, so he might have a bit more time to find it as well. See, the time's very close, P4 to P9, only separated by 2 tenths, so if you can find that 2 tenths, that's a lot of positions gained. However, Reaper's almost 2 tenths down in his best time now, so he's going to have to put together a pretty good second and third sector to get that time back. Scotty's done, so guys are tiring in the pits now. Not really enough time to get around again. So smartest thing to do is just retire and watch the session, maybe pick up a point or two from your rivals. Always Ripper's hit the inside wall and knocked the wheel off. That's one of the risks of the new Valchicane. You really have to get as close as you can to that inside wall to really try and open up the second bit, because getting on the power here, you see with Bags Little, it's going to be really important. Unfortunately, that's going to compromise Bags Little's lap as well. He's going to lose time having to go around Reaper. So that's a shame there for the Mercedes man. Bags Little's still up in his best time, so this is on track for possibly that P4 as well. It's 2.5 tenths up, and it's 2.5 tenths to Ned in P4, so if Bags can finish this lap, it still could be pretty good, even though he did have to avoid that Mercedes a little bit. Hugs the right hand side. It's going to be improvement. It will be P4. 3.5 tenths improvement. Very close to Scotty. 3.5 tenths off there, but manages to jump a bunch of guys with Bags Little in the Red Bull, which is definitely a win for him. He'll be pretty happy about that. F1 Hawk 2.5 tenths up in his best though, so this is going to be pushing the 8s, which would be a great effort for him. Around the final corner up to the line. Will it be an 8? It will be an 8, an 8.7. That's a fantastic lap there. Esnui behind. Can't really do anything about that. So F1 Hawk would be on pole by a fair margin for such a short track. Such a short lap time. That's a massive margin. 5.5 tenths, nearly 6 tenths to pole. I mean, that's a champion sort of lap there. Yeah, step above the rest. Pretty big gaps to some of the guys behind those. So 6 tenths to Newey, then another 2 tenths back to Scotty, another 4 tenths back to Bags Little, 1.1 seconds off in P4, but after that it gets quite close. Bags and Ned Macedonian very similar times. Stone Tower not too far off either with Banana Josh. Reaper and Banana Cake Pie make up the top 10. Banana Cake Pie is about 1.5 seconds off pole. Depp and The Rock, 11th and 12th, get free choice of tyres, but as mentioned before, it's not going to be that much benefit, and Crookie didn't get a lap in the end. So Crookie will start 13th. He is known for coming from the back, although this isn't going to be the easiest place to do it, so be interesting to see what the approach is for those guys at the back, whether it be popping on the mediums or hards and just enduring it out, or whether they'll pop on some softs and try and make some ground. We'll have to wait and see. But that's been qualifying. Really, really important qualifying, as we've mentioned a few times now. Track position, clean air, absolutely critical. So we'll see what they can do from there. F1 Hawk and Esnui in the best spot in the front row. No cars in front of them. I wonder if Esnui is going to try and have a ping. His best chance of winning this race might be to get in front of F1 Hawk at the first corner and just hold him up the entire race. But if F1 Hawk can get off the line, I'm not sure who's going to stop him. I mean, 6/10 in qualifying is incredible. That's a massive time gain. So yeah, will be an interesting race to say the least. Looks dry as well, which is good. So it's not going to be as long as it could be, which is a good thing. But here for the line, check these tyre choices. There's only 3 guys outside the 10. Pretty much everybody on softs. Yes, they've gone mediums, depth, the rock and crook. In terms of tyre strategy, I'm not sure who's really completed the full tyre strategy around here before. Often you're compromised by perhaps some damage to yourself or a safety car from somewhere, and that kind of really dictates your strategy. But the soft medium as a base strategy is a good shout. It used to be incredibly easy to do. I think it's a bit harder to now. The soft hard is probably about the same pace. You could get a bit of an undercut with the hards, but if you've got some clear air, you can stay out and put mediums on and coast away afterwards. So most of these guys will probably do a soft medium or soft hard depending on damage, safety cars, that kind of thing. Guys at the back will probably try and live it on the mediums as long as they can and put softs on at the end. So it'll be critical for them to not get damage. Yeah, if they do, then they're probably going to have to pop on hards early on and just kind of gut it out. So it's a tricky strat, but could prove benefits if you get the safety car kind of 2/3 of the way through the race and pop softs on while everyone else behind you either stays out on old tyres or pits with softs and stays behind you. So interesting couple of things to think about for the strat for those guys, but fairly stock standard for the rest of them. Being a pretty quick formation lap here, we get a couple of stragglers at the back, so F1 Hawk will be waiting on the grid for a little while. But importantly, he's on the front row and on the inside too, which is probably just as important. It gives you some wriggle room. You can cut that first corner and take the warning if you really need to, whereas on the outside it's just wall. So it is a really tricky first corner though. It's not just a simple kind of brake 90-degree right-hander. The kink on the left-hand side makes things really tricky because you can't really brake in a straight line, even 2x2, side by side with someone. You really have to kind of get around that kink on the left-hand side. You can see just there the kink on the left. Actually, go from Masonry actually. The kink on the left there, really tricky to get the braking zone right into turn 1. But we're ready to go. 4 or 5 red lights, and the parade of the Formula 1 calendar has begun. F1 Hawk gets a good start off the line. That's exactly what he wanted. Leads in turn 1 comfortably behind them. Looks fairly tidy actually. Everyone driving pretty cautiously, which is definitely the way to go. No one is facing the wrong direction, which is good to see. So it's been a good start. Leaderboard's all wrong, ignore that for a little while. I'm not sure why half the cars have coasted for me. Hopefully that's just a me issue and not an everyone issue. This leaderboard sorts stuff out, but everyone getting off the line pretty tidily, which is good to see. No real side-by-sides at the moment. That guy's all checking up at the hairpin there, having to. The slowest corner on the calendar by a significant margin as well, I think actually. But clean start to the race. Gap's a little bit weird. That is not a 7.6 gap from P2 to 3, so ignore that. Now it's back to, I think he might have kissed that inside wall there, but it doesn't look like damage, which is lucky for him. Positions gained and lost. Only one change of position. Bags did jump Scotty off the line there on the outside, so that is the only position change on the first lap. So good to see Bags getting it done. Could have plopped it on P3 perhaps on the grid if he got that clean lap in, but he's in P3 now, which is good for him. So as Josh is in the pits, so he's picked up some damage somewhere, I think. He's gone in early, and that's probably going to be a stop for hards. I'm not sure if medium's going to be the end. Never mind, he's put more softs on, so I'm not sure about that strat. So he's going to have to stop a second time, definitely. Front change for Joshy, so he might try and gun it and try and catch up a little bit, but he's going to be a long way behind now. Guys at the front though are going to be pretty stagnant, I think, as people start kind of slowly find the rhythm of this track. Really tricky to push off the bat. You just want to get off through the first few laps cleanly. You don't have to be quick, just to be clean. You can get on with the rest of your race. But F1 Hawk clear of Esnui now by 6/10. Gap to back's little was toggling between kind of 7/10 of a second. So a couple of different strengths for the drivers, perhaps in different sectors. Gap falling behind Macedonian here. There's a gap of 1.2 ahead. It's not due to damage. So that's just a genuine gap there, and it's hanging on for P5 on the back of that lead group there. A couple of gaps in the middle here though, as Reaper has a 2-second gap in front of him. That's because he's got damage, so he's hit a wall somewhere and he's holding up the pack now. So Reaper really struggling. He's lost about 2 seconds that lap. So that's no good for Reaper. Like Banana, will be wanting to get by him ASAP. Depp as well. It's not good for Merc Driver there, particularly in that championship battle we were talking about being so close in P4. Only one Mercedes compared to 2 Ferraris and 2 Red Bulls. Now that Mercedes is wounded, so not going to help there. Reaper might try and gut it out for a little bit and pop hards on soon. But he's going to be losing a lot of time to the top 7. Prezzo hanging on behind Macedonian at the moment. 3 seconds is the gap now between Reaper and Prezzo ahead, so we'll see what Banana does in terms of making a move. He's going to have to think about it and probably plan it a few corners in advance. You really have to do that around Monaco. You can't just send a dive bomb in a braking zone like you would at most other tracks, or like most people would at most other tracks. You really kind of have to plan your corner. You have to think about what corner you want to make the move and try and set it up a couple of corners before. Possibly just compromising a run in one corner to open up the next one to get the run for your overtake. You really have to think about it, but I'll set the approaches here. So Macedonian's lost a bit of time in that lap as well. F1 Hawk has stretched away from DRS, which is important there, so he's not going to come under pressure behind directly for the foreseeable future, which is good for him. So really important there for F1 Hawk to break DRS, and looks like S Nui is almost there on back, so the same as Scotty. So gap stretching. Excuse me. Cookie's in the pits now. He's putting on hards. He's got damage as well, I think. Joshy's the quickest lap of the race in fresh softs, which isn't too surprising at this point. You can see Reaper really struggling to get that car around. He just can't quite turn it, even around the hairpin there at low speed. That's where all the time will be, in this slow section where you can't get the car to pivot. As well as in the third sector where it's really quick. The car won't really turn in. As the rock's gone around the outside of Depth, Deal Dog. Not the easiest place to do, so Depth's probably just lost it slightly on the exit there. It was very early on that straight there, so the Rock now ahead into P10, and he leads the medium runners. Of course, Joshy on the mediums as well. Joshy on the softs and already pit. Who else was on the mediums? Cookie was on the mediums and puts hards on. So Rocky leads the only 2 medium runners now. Depth just behind for now. Gaps at the front, all 1.2 seconds. So the furthest up guy to have DRS is going to be Ned. Stonetail left DRS as well as the Rock here. Banana's lost a bit of time to Reaper ahead, so I wonder if Banana's got a bit of damage. I think he might. He's understeering a lot. He does. Banana's clunked the wall, probably the outside of turn 1. And the Rock might have a look into here. No, he has to back out of it. The Rock is also the first one to get a penalty. Not the easiest track to rack up penalties, that although if you're not careful you can. Turn 1 and the New chicane are pretty much the only 2 places you're going to get penalties. You can cut a bit of that last chicane in sector 3 as well. But you can get away with that a lot of the time. So turn 1 and this New chicane here are going to be the only places for warnings. But Banana looks like he's struggling a bit now. Reaper's managed to gap in a little bit. The Rock's now going to get held up behind, so no idea there for Banana. I wonder what he's going to do in the next couple of laps. Might decide to pull the pin early, put hards on and go to the end, because he's lost a fair bit of time. I remember Reaper has damage as well. Alright, this is a little battle to watch, I think, as well. As Depp's in the pits off medium, so he must have got damage as well. So plenty of guys finding wall early on, which is not ideal for their races. But Ned on the back of Scotty here. This is probably the closest battle on track other than the Rock and the Banana Cake Pie. Back for P9. So we might try and toggle a little bit between the two. Although S-Nui is just taking a big chunk out of F1 Hawk as well. So F1 Hawk's made a mistake. No damage, which is good for him. But F1 Hawk has now lost about 4/10 this lap already. We're only halfway through it. So F1 Hawk perhaps making a little bit of a mistake there. That's let S-Nui back in with a look. So hard work in the first couple of laps to get that DRS broken is now done. It's gone. So we'll see what he can do, our championship leader, about rectifying that and pushing on again. Ned on the back of Scotty still, but definitely not close enough to think about a move yet. You really have to be kind of 2 or 3 tenths behind to force a move. It's really difficult to get that close behind around such a slow track, slow narrow track. There's really only one line for the entire track. In most places off the line it's not faster, so really hard to gain some momentum to really make a move. As you mentioned a couple of times already, not many braking zones, not many traction zones to really get the car. There are no straights, of course, either. The one straight is a tiny straight, and the bendy straight, as Bocky likes to call it. Not the easiest for overtaking. DRS becomes ineffective as well. I can't really use that as an overtaking tool either. This is still getting very close at the front though, so F1 Hawk's really slowing up. He's not sure if it's intentional, but these gaps, which were all about a second, are now all under. Sorry, I keep randomly yawning, I'm not sure why. It's not that late. And this race hasn't been boring yet. It's been quite interesting to start off with. Trying to think about what these guys are going to do in terms of the strat. We'll see what the likes of the Rock can do. He's still on the back of Banana. He's got damage. Reaper's also got damage, so they're both falling way back behind the top 7. These guys are actually pushing away from Macedonia still, even though their pace has slowed up a little bit. 3.5 now is the seconds is now the gap between P5 and P6. Stone Tower's just over a second behind Macedonian, so not quite in DRS range, but close enough to make Macedonian have to think about it. Now the Rock and Banana keep high, having a side by side, and Banana's on the wall. And that's damage as well. Banana gets 3 seconds of cutting, so I wonder if they made contact on the entry. They would have been side by side into turn 1. Banana's got potentially more damage, but he was very slow out of turn 1 there, so perhaps a bit of contact with the outside wall on the entry. The Rock is now through, and Banana is going to be struggling. He is up the top. Bags Little and S Nui through the tunnel. Bags Little gets through for P2. S Nui can't really fight back, and Bags Little gets stopped he can. And that's big there. Big move for P2. Scotty now has a Renault in front, not a Red Bull. So great job there for Bags Little getting the move done. Really tricky to kind of spot when the move is going to happen because the gaps are staying relatively the same the whole time. But this might be the battle to watch. But I picks up another penalty as F1 Hawk's in and S Nui's in as well. So they've decided to go as soon as they can, possibly trying to get an undercut. I wonder where they're going to counter it relative to some of those guys dragging behind. F1 Hawk on hards and Nui on medium, so a contrasting strategy there. And that makes things very interesting. F1 Hawk will have the track position, but S Nui with the softer tyres. It's going to be probably a lot quicker off the bat. Probably about halfway through the stints when they'll start to level out a bit, and the hards will start to come quicker than the mediums as the race goes on. But 30 laps on mediums is not going to be easy at all. That's going to be incredibly difficult, actually, I think, for S Nui. He's going to be very kind of his tyres to get theirs to the end, unless he's planning on pushing it to stopping it. Not really sure, but F1 Hawk's geared up to go to the end. It's not really sure what the play is with the mediums. We'll see what S Nui does, whether he'll push or whether he'll settle. F1 Hawk's now on the back of Banana, who hasn't pit and does have that damage, so Banana's going to be a bit of a cork in the bottle, and this is actually probably going to help Bags Little and Scotty a whole lot. If F1 Hawk's in bad traffic now, he's going to be held up an awful lot here. So F1 Hawk needs to get this move done at this corner, at risk of dropping the lead, and he's managed to sneak down the inside. That is absolutely critical for this race. Although F1 Hawk did lose some time there, S Nui will go by his teammate without issue, but Nike Page lets his teammate go. Bags Little's in the pits now, so this is really critical. Where does he come out relative? He's put on hards as well, so it's definitely going to the end as well. But he has a nose change. Bags Little has a nose change, and that's probably going to cost him the chance of undercutting the leader. Well, it's definitely going to cost him the chance of undercutting the leader. He's going to come out behind S Nui as well, so that really nice move we saw there for P2. It's not going to really count for much now with that front wing change. That gap you can see there, 7-8 seconds. Can cut turn 1 and get some of that back. It'll level about 7 seconds, so you can see 7 seconds is how much a front wing change is going to cost you. I was saying at the start of the race, if you can avoid getting those front wing changes, that's 7 seconds. In a place where you can't overtake, track position is absolutely critical. 7 seconds is absolutely massive if you can save that in a pit stop. You can see here Bags Little now 7 seconds behind its lead battle with that front wing change. So what that's going to do is if Scotty and Ned don't have to pit, they're going to jump the Red Bull. If they don't have to pit for a front wing, both of them look like they've got their wings intact, which is the number one thing. Now, when are they going to pit? They might pit pretty soon. Ned's going to come in this lap. I don't think that's a bad shout. He might get a little bit of an undercut on Scotty, whose tyres aren't going to be feeling fantastic. Softs will still be okay, but we'll see what Ned can do in terms of jumping that. Stone Tower's back in DRS the Macedonian. I'm just trying to find his gap here. Where does Ned come out relative to these guys? Ned is still behind F1 Hawk and S Nui, so it looks like F1 Hawk didn't get held up too much. I wonder if negative front wing changed there as well, because he's also fallen a little bit behind. Not too sure. But S Nui is all over the F1 Hawk here now. Those mediums definitely going to switch on a lot quicker than the hards will. So if F1 Hawk can stay ahead, which he might not here. Oh, F1 Hawk's got damage. You can see on the onboard there. F1 Hawk's clunked the wall somewhere. And that's really bad. 2 laps into his hard stint. He needs to take those hards 30 laps and he's already got damage. That could be absolutely massive for the race. I mean, for the championship, he just needs to finish in a decent position. It'll be okay, but that's massive for the race. If someone's crashed, and it's Bernard Josh, he's facing backwards in the second sector. That's out of turn. I'm not sure which turn exactly it is, but that's over the bump into the Raskas, not Raskas, sorry, the Lowe's hairpin sort of complex. That's big there for Josh. He's a long way back now. But this is the battle we want to see. S Nui is all over the back of F1 Hawk. F1 Hawk is going to be really struggling with that front end. Remember, the thing with damage is you're asking more of your tyres and less of your kind of car downforce, your aerodynamics when you lose front wing. So it's going to wear the tyres out more. His fronts aren't going to be liking the attention at all. You see F1 Hawk's going to be really struggling here to keep S Nui behind. S Nui's got an absolutely fantastic run on softer tyres and without damage. You might have a look up the hill. F1 Hawk defends the inside. He's going to go out wide without understeer, and S Nui can't quite squeeze through. And F1 Hawk's hit the wall again. That's surely going to be more damage for the McLaren driver. That's going to hold him up even further. And honestly, if I was Scotty, I might have stayed out an extra lap, because these guys are driving very, very slowly. But Scotty probably doesn't know that F1 Hawk has damage. Scotty has gone medium, so he's going to have a couple of laps in hand over F1 Hawk. The Rocky Macedonian having a side-by-side for, well, the lead. It's not quite the lead, realistically, but nice little battle there. Macedonian's going slowly as well. On those 11 lap old softs aren't going to be too prime for too much longer. But this is the battle we want to see here for the effective lead of the race. F1 Hawk struggling with damage already on his hard stint. S Nui on fresh mediums should be a lot quicker. You can't quite get down the inside. You can see how tricky it is to get a run on anyone, even with the tyre and damage advantage that S Nui has. You just can't get a run. That's Monaco in a nutshell for you. But this might be his best chance. He's going to go around the outside. F1 Hawk's going to defend the inside. He's going to park it on the apex and stay ahead. So you can see if you can defend hard but fair, there's just no way past. S Nui has to sit behind for another lap. S Nui can be patient though. Remember, he can't really wear out his tyres too much. He has to try and take those mediums 30 laps, which is no easy task. So he can't really push too hard. When he gets ahead, he might be able to stretch the legs a little bit and then kind of settle into a rhythm. But he has to get ahead first. He can't really rush it too much, can't risk damage. Otherwise he's not going to have any sort of pace advantage over F1 Hawk in that regard. You can see how much this battling's cost them though. Ned and Scotty are already right back here, and Bags Little, that 7-second gap is already 2. Bags Little does have a penalty which is going to hurt him a bit later, but you can see how much the pace of F1 Hawk has really dropped off here. Everyone's sort of just cramming in behind now. The Stone Tower's not going to be too far behind either. Macedonian did pit. He's come out 3.5 seconds behind the Stone Tower, so Prezzo's getting a really nice undercut. So perhaps Macedonian did have a problem on that lap there. We saw him going a little bit slowly before. But that's pretty big there as well. That's some solid points for the Stone Tower, if he can hang on to that. Long ways to go in this race though. We're only just over the 1/3 mark. There's enough action to keep us interested, which is good. Might just keep staying on board here with S Nui, because he's trying to get a move done. This could be it. F1 Hawk goes wide, S Nui down the inside, and this should be his best chance. It is his best chance. Can he sweep through? F1 Hawk's going to try and keep the nose in, and he can't. S Nui sweeps through, and that is massive for the race. S Nui now with clear air, softer tyres, and a clean front wing. He might be able to stretch now. Ned picks up the penalty in the second sector. Not the easiest place to do it, but Ned might be the next one to try and have a ping at F1 Hawk, but that's massive for S Nui. Now gets clear air and a slow car between him and some of his rivals. So that's really big there. Although having a look here, Ned also has damage now. Trying to stamp the off-board there. I'm pretty sure it's his right hand end plate is missing, and it is. So Ned's now got damage. That's going to slow him up as well. Scotty might be in the best chance now. You can see Baxter's already caught his packs, and Ned's going to pit. He's had enough. He's going to get rid of that damage. It's going to cost him a lot of track position, which is definitely not what you need. That's probably taking Ned out of the podium fight. I'm not sure if he's going to quite get back up there because he's got a lot of cars to overtake again if he is to have a chance. He's going to fall right down to P8, possibly P10 if he can't jump Dep and Rip, which I don't think he is. No, P10 for Ned. So that's massively costly. That front wing change. I almost think he should have just stayed out with it. Always behind Banana even, so he's dropped way back to 11th. Interval from the leader. 31 seconds, that's cost him. Well, if you take 3 seconds away from the rock, that's 28 seconds with the pit stop and the nose change. That's such a shame for Ned. Although I do think if I was him, I would have just stayed out and gritted my teeth and get on with it. Because he's just going to fall even further back now behind some people here. Now I think Scotty's the one to watch. He is all over the back. F1 Hawk is really struggling now. He's defending the inside in every corner, which you pretty much never see anyone do at Monaco. It shows how much pressure he's feeling now to hang on to his track position. And I wonder if it's almost worth him pitting. He does. F1 Hawk's in as well. That's going to release Scotty and Bags Littles. Stone Tower's also caught this back as well. That's how much they've been slowing up behind F1 Hawk. The Stone Tower is now back in the fight for a podium. I mean, never was in the fight for a podium, but he is now. Courtesy of F1 Hawk's going to pit for mediums. That's going to drop him well down the field as well. He's going to struggle to take those to the end, although not as much as some of the guys around him who already picked for mediums. So a tricky situation for F1 Hawk. Remember, he does need to still score some relatively good points to keep the championship lead. He's 38 points ahead to Scotty. He's currently sitting in a nice effective P2. So if the results stay like this, Scotty's well back in the championship hunt. But if F1 Hawk can get back up close to Scotty within a position or two, or ahead of Scotty, then F1 Hawk will be the champion of Tier 2 with the race in hand. But he's come out behind Ned now in P10, who's still in the back of Banana Cake Pie. So those two are going to try and push their way back through the field. Ahead of Bananas, a 3-second gap to Dep, and then a massive 15 seconds to Macedonian, who's also going to go to the end. So these positions are genuine. The only person ahead who does have to pit is the Rock, who's just been overtaken by S. Nui. So S. Nui now leads this race. He is the proper leader. The Rock still has to make a pit stop, so we can't quite count him as leader. The Rock will pit and probably come out behind the Banana Cake Pie train. But if he can hang up there and we get a late safety car or something, that could really help him. But it's going to be tricky. S. Nui's got a lot of pace. But the Rock's doing very well at this first thing, so he's starting position as well. Ned's snuck in Banana Cake Pie, hit the wall again. I think F1 Hawks can get through as well. Banana gets bullied out of P8 there by Ned and F1 Hawk, and he's going to fall back to P10 on hard tyres with the penalty as well, which won't help. I want to see front wings, I want to see if he's got damage, but just getting shoulder shots now, which isn't ideal. Ned's front wing's fine. F1 Hawks looks fine as well, can't quite see there though. As they're all braking and checking up. I think all the front wings are good. I know the lime green damage and light yellow damage sometimes doesn't show on the visual. I think when we can see the end plate falling off, that's kind of that dark yellow colour. So there might be some mild damage, although I do know also that this league, the Pacific Series, runs reduced damage, not full damage. So you can probably get away with a tiny bit more little contact than you normally would running full. So looks like the damage situation is okay for the three of them. Now the closest battle on track is actually Stone Tower in the back of Bags Little. 6 lap old mediums versus 8 lap old hards. Stone Tower's tyres will be better for the next probably 10 laps or so. Then they'll start to drift off and the hards will continue to pick up the pace. The hards hold their pace really well, just as a given rule. There's not many tracks on the calendar where their hards genuinely wear out. Most tracks you can really do like 3/4 of the race, if not more, on hard tyres. Just trying to think of tracks where the hards aren't as great. I think Hungary is one where the hards do wear out a fair bit. Yes, Marina, then okay. but the Hard's generally a very solid tyre, and they hold their pace for the entire stint. If the entire stint is 3/4 of the race, that's all the consistency you could possibly ask for. We've already talked about consistency when it comes to close championships. So Bags Little, if he can keep ahead of the Stone he's not going to have anything to worry about. Depp's just been overtaken by 2 drivers. I think that's just a timing glitch. I wonder if he's just let them go in the tunnel. He's on 12 called Hards compared to fresh mediums front runners, so I reckon Depp's just let him go there. But Macedonian now has 2 of the quickest guys in this race behind him, although 20 seconds is the gap, so quite significant. Stone Tower still in the back and back, so this is the battle to watch, I think. I don't think Ned and F1 are going to fight too much. They're probably going to just try and work together a little bit now and try and catch Macedonian, who's still only 2 seconds off the Stone Tower. He did get the undercut on the Haas driver in the pit stops, but now it's Bags Little for company ahead. Does Bags Little have some damage? That right end plate, I want to get a better look at. I'm not sure if I saw an end plate there or not. We did have some brief yellows, I'm not sure what that was for. There's a Ferrari in the pit lane, I think it's Crookie. No, Bags Little's front wing is fine, so it must just been a bit of a trick of the light or some dodgy eyesight on my part. But Stone Tower still in the back. Oscar dropped the last on medium tyres, 20 laps on medium should be pretty doable. So he'll go to the end, although last place is not what we wanted. Just trying to keep an eye on some of these gaps. F1 Hawk still in the back of Ned, but I don't think he's going to force a move yet. They're going to be slowly catching Macedonian for the rest of the race, I think. Their raw pace seems to be a little bit better. I know Macedonian's no slouch, not just around here, but in general, but Ned and F1 Hawk are very, very strong drivers. So that gap will probably continue to come down. The other close gap on track is currently Scotty in the back of the Rock, which doesn't hit. Oh, there's some catch. Scotty having a bit of a moment. I don't think he hit the wall, but he definitely got pretty tail happy on the exit there. He's behind the Rock, who still hasn't pitted yet, 19 laps on medium tyres. So he's definitely going to be struggling for a bit of grip now. He's probably going to come into the next, probably about 5 laps of time, 4 laps of time or so, and put softs on. Softs should be able to do 15 laps fresh. They won't be very good at the end, but it's doable, I think. The fresh softs. Scotty will take a warning there, the penalty for that. Probably not really what he wanted to do. Scotty's normally very, very good at keeping his penalties clean. That's why he gets so many podium places. When guys around and get penalties, he really doesn't come under direct threat. I think he won a race as well, jumping like 4 people on pens. From memory, don't quote me on that yet, but I have a perhaps memory of that. The Rock's just going to let him go though. The Rock knows it's not his race. The Rock starts to pit again, so the Rock's battle is probably for kind of that P789 sort of range. Probably around about Depp, Banana Cake Pie sort of battle. I'm not sure if he's going to... Actually, no, if he does pit without a front wing change, he might... No, he's going to come out about P9, I think. P8 or so, if he pits. So, the Rock's doing a pretty good job of staying up there. He's slowly getting caught by these guys, but that's what you come to expect with old tyres. Cookie gets a penalty from last, that's not going to affect much at the moment. Macedonian's caught this little train there behind Bags Little. I've been watching that gap come down a little bit. Gap to Ned's coming down by probably about 3-4 tenths a lap, so nothing crazy, but consistent. But Macedonian's put on a little bit of pace now, and he's caught the Stone Town Bags Little. Bags Little still on the hard tyres. We've mentioned a couple of times those will start to wear in pretty well. Mediums will start to drop off probably in the next 10 or so laps. I think the sort of 17, 18, 19 lap range of mediums is when they start to go. I know the mediums often have kind of a second life almost. They start off really, really nice and then kind of feel garbage for a little bit, and then feel great again. Yeah, we'll see what happens with those. The Rock's going to pit for hards, so he must have just been hanging out for a safety car, making the most of those medium tyres. Softs probably aren't quite going to do 17 laps, so not the bad, well, not the worst decision there. And the Rock without a front wing change is going to come out ahead of Ned. Just no, it's going to be very, very close in the pit exit. Rock will get to cut turn 1. He's going to come out somehow between the Rock and F1 Hawk. Ned and the F1 Hawk, but F1 Hawk gets him on the run and have the momentum out of the corner. So Rock will come in just behind them, but on fresh hards. He might be able to stick with these guys, possibly catch them a little bit towards the end of the race. So that's a big win there for the Rock, who started right towards the back. He's gained a lot of positions, a nice undercut, and some guys are having some trouble around him. So Well done to The Rock for sticking it out. Definitely deserves to be up there. Now it's critical. Bags Little with another penalty. I think that's 6 seconds now. That is 6 seconds. So he's going to fall behind Stonetown Macedonian. If they can keep it clean, they don't have to force a move for a podium. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Stonetown try and make a move anyway. Macedonian might have to make a move if he wants to go on the podium if Stonetown stays without the penalty. But Stonetown's doing very, very well. Another driver, we said qualified, I think it was P6, about keeping it clean. Did lose a bit of time in his last lap, costing him a potential P4 or P5 in qualifying, but making up for it in the race. The race is where you get points. So the Stonetown's put together a solid drive to now be challenging for a podium. If he can keep his nose clean and keep the penalties clean, the podium is his. And if he can keep his tyres alive as well. Those tyres will be nice and old towards the end of the race. It'll be 25, 26 laps, which is no... Just may give me that they'll survive, but we'll see what he can do in terms of hanging on to him. Yeah, it's the closest battle on the track, these three. The next one is F1 Hawk still in the back of Ned, but not really forcing him to move. Banana's caught Depp as well, so both McLarens with the car very close to them. I'm not sure if Banana Cake Pie's on the charge or whether Depp's just gotten by him, but I don't think I saw a position change, so Banana Cake Pie might be on the attack here. Both of them on hard tyres. Banana's 4 laps newer, so probably has a little bit more grip, but doesn't look like he's going to get the job done at this time in the race. As well, we just jumped aboard there, and F1 Hawk has absolutely smashed the wall there, and that's big damage. So the end plate flies straight off. F1 Hawk's race has gone from bad to worse. As I think, was that the Stonetown Macedonian just picking up a penalty at the same time? It was. There you go. So, I mean, that's quite remarkable. The two guys without a penalty, who I said were absolutely laughing, just got one at the exact same time. I think, looking at where they are on track, it would have been turn 1. Oh, that's quite funny. I just saw that pop up the bottom. That is actually quite hilarious. Both of them picking up their third one at the exact same point in the race. So that battle is still even between Stonetown Macedonian, however only 3 seconds in hand of Bags Little now. I mean, if Bags Little was mediums, if Bags Little was hard, start to turn on competitive mediums, he might be able to stretch it out. But 3 seconds is not going to be the easiest thing to pull. You can't really push too hard without pushing too hard and hitting something. So Stonetown still in a good position, 3 seconds in hand on Bags Little, but probably have to be a little bit careful now. Although you can potentially have the mentality of you've got 2 more warnings in hand to use if you need. But I think around here, when your tyres start to get slippy and stuff, you'd rather have them as kind of safety nets in case you just slip wide or turn a little bit early, lose focus. Quite easy to lose focus when you're not in a massive race, although it's probably not the easiest place to lose focus as well, considering how intense the race is, how close the walls are, how narrow the track is. You kind of have to be on the ball. It's very hard to kind of slip up and let your mind wander, I think, because there's kind of so much happening. So yeah, interesting to think about there. Macedonian still sort of on the back here, just in DRS range. But Stonetown, he's probably going to be in a bit of tyre saving mode soon. He's not really saving his battery. Macedonian's not either. Bags is not. So they're both, all three of them, pushing at about the same rate in terms of the consumptions of materials. I'll check the gap at the front penalties. So Esnu's got 6 seconds, so he's got 5 seconds in hand. As Bags has cut that and he's lost out to the Stonetown. Has he got damage? No, he must have just missed his braking point. The Bags has given up P4. And Stonetown now has clear air in front of him in P3. That's a big mistake there for Bags Little. That's absolutely critical in terms of a chance of the podium. I think Bags Little has just missed the chicane. He must have either kissed the inside wall or just come in a little bit too hot there. That's a critical mistake there. Now Bags Little losing the track position, which we know how important it is around Monaco. Stonetown now doesn't just have the penalty high ground, he's also got the track position high ground now, which is big. A couple more guys in the pit lane again. Josh's pit, Honest Cook pit as well. Possibly just going to go for fastest lap. They're not fighting for much at the moment. Once you go a lap down, it's pretty much impossible to really get that lap back because the game doesn't allow you passing the safety car. If you try, you'll get disqualified from personal experience as well as a lot of other people's experience. so there's not much to fight for if you get a lap down. But as I've said a couple of times this season, I really applaud / appreciate drivers who finish races even if they're not really a chance for decent points. I mean, you sign up to finish, you let kind of your lobby coordinator, you let your other drivers, you let your tier owner, your league owner down a little bit, I think, if you don't finish races. Just return the pits, so you may as well finish it. Also worth considering as well though, the 15 place point system. It's not just 1 to 10 who gets points in this league, it is 1 to 15, so there's a bit of incentive there for drivers to not retire in the pits. So even though Josh and Cook are a long way back, they will still walk away with a couple of points, which is good incentive, but still, it'd be very easy to just pull into the pits and give up, so it's good that they haven't yet. Well, I say yet kind of loosely, but it's good to see they haven't pulled it up and it's still going. Now, I've been watching this gap. Gap's now 1.3 between Stonetown, Bagsliddle. So Stonetown still looks like those mediums are better than the hards, but how long is the question? Maybe not too much longer. I'd say around lap 31, 32, the pace will start to balance out a bit. Possibly even earlier. Remember Stonetown is going to be trying to take those medium tyres. What's that, like 27 laps or so. We know Esnu is trying to take his 30 laps, which is no easy feat. He's still got about 5 seconds in hand counting the penalty to Scotty. So he's got a little bit of wiggle room, but not the biggest. But Bagswell puts together a very good second and third sector there, and he's back in the DRS of Stone Tower while dropping Macedonian. So Bagswell looks like his strengths in the second and third sector. I'm not sure if that's just driving style or setup. Most guys will be running a very similar setup, very high downforce, low tyre pressures, probably relatively stiff springs, also relatively loose springs because it's so bumpy, loose suspension. So that's probably going to be very similar. So it's probably just driving approach. Stone Tail looks quite good in sector 1. He's always pulling that gap a little bit. But Bagswell does get it back in second and third sector, so it's good to watch. Kind of the difference between drivers, particularly when they're in equal cars. But yeah, this is the closest battle on track. It's the only good battle actually within a second at the moment. So the field is quite spread. Esnu's got a paddock. He's still got a big gap. Stone Tower, there's still a battle, but they're slowly losing ground to Scotty, but not really significantly. So yeah, this is the closest battle on track. Next closest is Banana and Reaper for P10. Might just give that a quick squeeze though. Reaper is going to be catching Banana a little bit on fresher mediums. Also F1 Hawk, I just want to check his progress. He got damaged a few laps ago. He's dropped 8 seconds behind Ned. So that's massively costly for F1 Hawk. He's now deciding to soldier on. Not pitting, because if he does pit, he'll drop back to probably P11. That's a significant number of points. That'll be 4 or 5 points lost. In a championship, which is still up for grabs, 4 or 5 points is very important to hang on to. Still got 5 seconds to the rock behind, so he might come under a bit of pressure, but 10 depth behind him. So I think the worst that F1 Hawk will get is 8th. The best is 7th. So it's okay without being fantastic for F1 Hawk. Scotty is championship rivals in P2, so solid point to Scotty. But he's going to need something remarkable in the last race, I think, to beat F1 Hawk. F1 Hawk probably needs a DNF next race, and Scotty win it will come second, just from memory / quick maths. But we'll get the details of the standings correct before next week, so we can come in fully prepared of what is on the line for the championship. But I think as it is, the championship will not be won this round for F1 Hawk. It will have to wait till the final round at Brazil next week, which is good. Championships go to the last race are always fun. Means there's pressure on drivers. Drivers don't slack off and muck around or whatever. It keeps things spicy, because when you drive around nervous, mistakes come. Mistakes can cost you massively, particularly in a tier of quality drivers like this one here, T2 of Race Spec Pacific Series. A really deep pool of drivers. So you don't want to be making mistakes from pressure and nerves. But it's fun as a spectator to watch people make mistakes. It sounds rude. It is very rude actually, but it makes races interesting. So yeah, championship fight to the last race, always a big plus. Now Reaper Banana looks like they've just swapped positions. Reaper gets him up the hill for P10. Those fresh and mediums doing the goods at the moment. In terms of penalties, they're both at the same penalties, 6 seconds, so 2 penalties for both of them. So that is a genuine battle. Depp's not too far ahead. Depp has 3 seconds, so Depp's probably safe for P9, even if he gets overtaken by the pair of them. Which is good for him and good for the championship. Now, Baxter was in the pits. He's going to lose a couple of positions here. He's getting a front wing change, I think, as well, judging by the pit time there. But he's put fresh softs on. So he's going to drop behind F1 Hawk, but ahead of the Rock, I think. That Ferrari there is a lap down of Crook. So Bagdale's cost himself a potential podium to go for a run on soft tyres. Now he's going to be insanely fast. He should catch and pass, or he'll definitely catch F1 Hawk in the next probably 3 laps. 5.5 seconds. The softs will be absolutely incredible, but passing will be a different story. There's a 12-second gap ahead to Ned, so I'm not sure what the benefit of that is. I wonder if he's decided his tyres aren't going to make it. That could be it. He was trying to go on to the end, although he wasn't hard, wasn't he? Just quickly check the race director. Yes, he wasn't hard, so I wonder if that's just clunking the wall too hard, getting big damage, because that's really unusual to be pitting out of P4. There's still potential podium on the line. So Baxter's probably just made a mistake there and decided it's not worth staying out, or he doesn't want to stay out. But he's now cost himself potential P4 to have a go at P6. You can see he's already gained like 2.5 seconds to Ned, F1 Hawk ahead, sorry. But he'll have to pass him, which won't be the easiest thing. But yeah, big plays there. That's going to pop Macedonian up to 4th now, without the pressure of picking up the penalty and dropping back behind Baxter. So that gap is still genuine there. But Macedonian's dropped to 3 seconds behind the Stone Tower now, so Stone Tower does have a penalty gap in hand if he needs it, which he's obviously not going to try to get. But yeah. The other battle that's been happening at the back is Joshy and Crook, who both keep alternating pit stops. Now there's a Renault off, and that's Banana. Banana's off in the middle of the Nouvelle chicane. I wonder if he's hit the entry there, or had a spin. No damage, so I don't think it'd be entry here. I reckon what he's done is clipped his back left tyre on the entry. It's really easy to do. You try and take it as narrow as you can, but because the cars are so wide and the tyre sticks out so far, the rear tyres are really, really thick. It is doable, very, very doable. So I reckon Banana's just clipped that inside wall. I don't think he's lost any positions. He was behind Reaper, he's just lost 32 seconds. Although he has reason to pit for fresh softs. So he probably would have lost about 7 or 8 seconds in that. Reaper's going to get by Depp here. Depp on 26 lap old hards, which aren't going to be any good for too much longer. I don't think. They're going to be not fun to drive on. Baxter was already on the back of F1 Hawk. We're talking about how this gap will probably come down very quickly. Baxter will probably get a run out of here. He gets 2 of a run and runs the back of F1 Hawk. So he's too fast. If Baxter was slower, he probably would have made the overtake up the hill. Which is quite funny to say in a race, but he's going to literally push F1 Hawk through this first second. He's going to defend. Baxter's going to have to hang on a little bit. We'll probably get him into the Nouvelle chicane, possibly getting a run out of the next couple of corners here and through the tunnel. Might be a good shout at it. With fresh offs, he'll have a lot more traction than F1 Hawk. Get the power down. He's not using the battery though. F1 Hawk probably will use a bit of battery. Got a bit more in hand. And no, he's not going to go for it. He's probably going to wait for turn 1 again. That's a really good run out of there. Straight line of the car, nice. You can see the front end just sticking a lot better on Baxter's cars compared to F1 Hawk's car, who's still carrying damage. Keep in mind F1 Hawk as well, but 17 lap old mediums are not going to be any good compared to 2 lap old softs, regardless of damage. Baxter will have the same grip relative, so we'll probably get a run out of here. DRS open, overtake. Still not being used, not sure why. I wonder if he uses auto or something. But he's not going to get the move either. He needs to slow down here and get the run out of here. He's learned his lesson, then he's going to get through. There you go. Slow and steady wins the race. You don't usually say slow and steady in F1. But you can see there just opening up the entry a bit more to get the power down early on the exit. Just using the grip of those soft tyres to get the move done. So smart driving there for Baxter. Learnt the first time. Knew it wasn't going to happen any different if he did it again. and ace it the second time. So well done there for Bags Little, a really well thought out move, and that's what I was talking about in qualifying. You really need to plan your moves. You can see he didn't burn his battery, he didn't go for it into the chicane, the Nouveau chicane out of the tunnel. He waited for his opportune moment, thought about what he needed to do to get the move done, how he could best use the tools he has, which in this case was fresh soft tyres compared to old medium tyres. Executed that move really well, and that's what you have to do at Monaco. It's the only way to do it. You can't just force yourself down the inside just because there's no room. You're guaranteed to make contact and have an incident and probably get blamed for it. So that's the way to do it. So well done there for Bags Little. That's as good an overtake you're going to see at Monaco, I think. Full stop. Now Ned's caught Macedonian a fair bit here, so Macedonian looks like he's struggling a bit for pace now, possibly using a bit of those tyres. I know Macedonian's normally quite decent on tyres. Someone else has crashed here. It's not Def, is it Banana again? No, it's not. Who is it? Is it I can't quite tell who that was. Was it Banana? Yeah, I reckon Banana's crashed again. I saw a dot in the middle of the Nouveau chicane, stationary, but I couldn't figure out who it was. Oh no, maybe it was Josh behind. Yeah, Josh is in the pit, so it would have been Joshy. He would have gotten damaged in the Nouveau chicane. I saw a stationary dot. I thought it was a yellow dot at first, which is why I went to Banana. Now I knew Depp was near him. It looks like Josh is having another adventure. He's put another wing on. I wonder how many of those he's got through today. But this is the battle. Keep an eye on Ned on the back of Macedonian. We're still on board here. We can see the lines that he takes around the outside. If you get the car stopped, he should be able to hang it. Oh, there's contact at the apex, and they put each other on the wall. Ned's going to have damage, surely. Yeah, he does. And Macedonian not wanting to give that up. Ned did come across the front a little bit, perhaps, but it's such a narrow entry. You kind of have to. With the speed, it's almost impossible to really do anything. So yeah, we'll let the stewards deal with that one if that is what is desired. But Ned still hangs on to P4 with damage now. Just Macedonian with damage, not visually, perhaps just a little bit. I'm not really sure what's happening at the back here. I think it might have just been Cookie legs that one go. I saw an overtake in the middle there, but couldn't quite tell who it was. But yeah, Macedonian's going to have another ping here, I think. At Ned, I'm sure he's not going to settle for that. Ned making the move. Macedonian's going to want to get him back. So see what happens here. Ned with damage is going to suffer through the second and third second this faster. You can see the run there that Macedonian's got relative to Ned with that damage. You won't be able to really see it, but Jeff might be telling him, and you could probably might have seen the end plate fall off there. So Macedonian's still got a little bit to fight for, I think. Basically, is 8 seconds behind, so there's only 3 laps left, so I don't think he's going to catch him. What's the penalty situation? Bags has 6, up to 3 and 6. So Macedonian's got one less penalty than Ned, so Macedonian doesn't have to do anything silly here. That's probably why Ned was quite aggressive with this move. Because he knew we had to get it done and get the gap. But Ned's now defending pretty aggressively there. With the damage, he's just going to have to drive a bit slowly. He's probably going to try and park a little bit and not let Macedonian get back through. He'll know the penalty situation, and there's not really any way he can force himself through. As Josh is on, no, Joshy, you don't unlock yourself like that. You can't really do that. That's going to cost Macedonian a big run there. I hope it doesn't cost Macedonian P4 with the penalty. Joshy's trying to unlock himself, probably just going for a fastest lap. But I will clarify for those watching, you aren't allowed to drive through people. Even if you're unlocking yourself, you have to do it in a proper manner. I mean, unlocking yourself in general is never going to work. Although Josh does have fresh soft tyres, you can understand why he wants to unlock himself, probably going for a quick lap, but you can't really do it driving through people. It's just distracting. You see how distracting it was for Macedonian there. He was in the lead lap. But anyway, enough of that. Josh does set the previous lap, not to probably a few people's displeasure, but he's now out of the way, which is good. Probably the most important thing. At least he's a lot quicker than these guys can stretch away. Now, second last lap, Macedonian's all the way back here. He hits the wall a little bit. Ned has to really check up here. This is probably where the front wing is going to really make a difference the most. That long left-hander into the right. You really, really need the front end working with you to get the pace. You can see Ned just doesn't have the pace. While we're coming to the end of this race, though, I just want to give a special shout out to the Stone Tower for finishing P3, barring any major mistakes at this point. A superb drive. coming from the midfield, which is not the place to be at Monaco. But keeping his nose clean, like very, very clean. Only got 3-second penalties, which is pretty clean as well. I know he's prone to racking up penalties pretty quickly as well sometimes. He's also prone to making a couple of mistakes. I know because I'm very, very similar a lot of the time. We both drive quite similarly in that way. But Stone Tower's put together a really, really solid drive. He managed to make the move when he needed to. He's used the clear air really, really well and just driven a really solid race. And he's going to get a podium, which is going to be incredibly well deserved. So well done to the Stone Tower. Scotty as well. He's probably the biggest kind of championship candidate no one ever talks about. Scotty just does his business. He's always there. He's always very consistent. He's always got very good pace. He does have some damage, which is going to cost him a little bit of pace now, but he should be able to hang on for this last lap. Scotty with another podium position. This is why he is contending the championship. With his main rival F1 Hawk down in P7, he's doing enough just to keep the championship alive for the next round. So I'll get the numbers properly next week, but Scotty with another solid drive for P2. But no one can beat Esnui here. Bold straight on the medium tyres. He's taking the 30 laps without a safety car to help him, which is no easy feat at all, but it's going to be enough to win the race. Did what he needed to do when he could, brakes at the line, and Esnui is your winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. Now there's a bit of action happening here actually. Bags Little actually did catch Mastonian. I'm not sure if Mastonian made a mistake there. I might stay on board here just in case something suspicious happens. I'm not really sure how 4 seconds went away, but Ned's made a massive mistake. That's what's happened, is Ned got a puncture. Something weird has happened here. No, Ned doesn't have a puncture, so Ned's made a big mistake and these guys have caught him. And Mastonian's going to get fourth in the end. I'm really confused as to what happened there. I don't think that gap was that big. Maybe I just didn't quite watch the gap close enough. They must have been close together for a while. But there you go. Bagsteel somehow caught kind of 6 seconds the last 2 laps to get to Mastonian again. So that's a good effort there. And it kind of wrecked my spiel for P1, which is probably my fault for not really paying attention. But I thought that race was over for P4, but it definitely wasn't. So there you go. But as I was saying, Esnui did everything right, went a bold strat, managed to keep it out of the wall when his rival F1 Hawk couldn't, and get some really, really solid points in the bank, and that's going to help him in his fight for P4 in the championship. We were talking about that being really, really close between him, Banana and Edmund. So solid for Esnui, takes the big points. Scotty Rory talked about having a really solid race, being really consistent, and the Stone Tower on the podium in Monaco, which he's going to be absolutely rapt about. I know the Stone Tower will be very happy with that. So well done there to the three of them for wrapping up points at a really, really demanding race. And to my surprise, no safety cars, which kind of let the pace of those guys that consistently really shine through. So well done to them. Stone Tower makes up 4 positions, tied most with The Rock, who also made up 4 positions. But the game gave The Rock driver of the day, which is interesting, but there you go. Mastonian finishes 4th, behind them, getting a bit of a jump without penalties. Ned Hutmatog finished 5th. F1 Hawk jumps Bags Little, who had 9 seconds of penalties. Must have picked one up very late, because Bags Little looked likely for 5th before all that kerfuffle at the end there. But F1 Hawk does take some points. I'm not sure if that's going to wrap up the championship or not. I'll get back to you on that next week. The Rock and P8, pretty solid drive, headed up and downs. Deputy Zorg 9th, Rip 10th. Banana had a adventurous race, a lap down. Cookie and Josh were off doing their own things in 12th and 13th. Cook nicks the fastest lap by a 10th over Josh. At the end there, both putting the softs on, so little win there for Crookie over Josh, but both of them not quite in the big points there. But yeah, that's been the Monaco Grand Prix, and surprisingly a lot of action. A lot of the time Monaco is just a bit of a train, bit of a snooze fest, not too much happening. Especially when there were no safety cars to bring the field back together. There was a lot happening on track there, so really fun round, which I've probably never really said about Monaco before in terms of spectating it. So there you go. That is round 14, and next week we have our finale, round 15 at Brazil. Really, really iconic racetrack again, ending with a couple of bangers. Japan, Monaco and Brazil to end the season. 3 very technical, difficult tracks to master. but 3 incredibly iconic circuits in terms of Formula 1 history. So Brazil next week is going to be a really fun race. I'm looking forward to doing that. As for some reason we're going to Belgium. That's just what the next event is for some reason. But we'll wind up the stream there. Thank you so much again for tuning in. If you want to see more of these guys, make sure to check out the previous races. I think round 14, I think we've only missed 2 or 3 races being streamed. 1 because I participated in, 1 because we had poor attendance, I remember. But the rest of them are all on YouTube, as well as Tier 1 and 4 happening at the same time as Tier 2, and Tier 3 happening 90 minutes earlier. So they're all the Pacific Series stuff. There's also Euro and Americas on later in the day, / tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world. Some pretty rapid drives on those tiers as well, so have a look at those. RS Leagues on Sunday. I think there's 6 of those now, so check out that good stuff, plus the GT stuff on the Saturday, Endurance Championship and the Group 3 Championship on Gran Turismo Sport. So plenty happening in the race spec circles, but that has been round 14 of the Go Workplace Training PS Pacific Series. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in once again. Hope you enjoyed the race. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream as well. That was a fun round. I'm looking forward to catching these guys in the finale. I will confirm those points next week for the finale, so we can get clear on the championship standings. But yeah, we'll wind it up there. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Make sure you check out all the socials and don't miss a thing. Like the stream, subscribe to Race Spec, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you later.